Hi there, Mario Peshev here from DevX. Yesterday I stumbled upon a particular topic asking about, hey, I want to work one-on-one with a software developer who can teach me software development. So I want to become a developer, so I want to know what's the process of becoming one and how to do that and pretty much everything else by working one-on-one with a specific developer. And he said, I know a developer who charges, say, $2,000 a month or something like that. So if I kind of hire them for 20 hours a week or something, would they charge me $1,000 for kind of meeting me half time and teaching me programming? That is, again, it's a hypothetical scenario, it's an assumption, but I really wanted to touch on the topic of how do people learn development right now, what are kind of the possible options, what are the best scenarios, and why is this theory flawed in the first place. So let's start with the best ways to learn software development. Obviously, there are a lot of universities out there with computer science programs or informatics or anything else trying to teach programming. So the good part is that they're focusing on specific skills that you're going to need further down the line. Like in 5 years from now or 8 years from now, you're going to work on complex projects which are about to be dependent on your memory consumption or the way processes are being created in your operating system and a lot more. But in the meantime, you're still going to learn the ropes of the craft, at least over the first 2-3 years, and you're likely not going to encounter some of those problems that you're about to study. And the problem is that they're going to occupy a lot of your time and you're not really going to understand them well enough without practical applications, right? Like it's a raw theory. It's like learning math. Math is interesting only if you know how to apply it and only if you have specific problems in hand that you can say, hey, I can apply this theorem, I can do this, I can do that. So it's great. Aside from that, it's a boring theory which nobody really likes. So that's about university. One of the problems with university is that in order to get the program approved, in order to get the university to teach something over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, they have to agree on a program, usually by the government or by the Ministry of Education or by something else, like administrative, political, governmental, organization that's about to decide that. So it's a very slow process. And software development, or the IT industry in general, is one of the fastest moving industries out there. If you learn mathematics, maths doesn't really change that much. If you learn law, obviously there are some changes, but it's not progressing as much. If you learn even medicine, there are a lot of advancements, but they're not, discovered as fast as software development, programming languages, frameworks, libraries, you name it. So with that in mind, universities are always going to be at least 5 years behind, if not 10, because they have to get an approval from a government, and the government is usually discussing for 2 years an outdated program, and then there is a process of transition and education of professors and other university lecturers, right? So it's a slow program. So that's kind of the problem with universities. There are private academies, training academies and boot camps and so on, which are usually promising a lot. Like I read an answer on Quora the other day that said, hey, if I'm a boot camp and I'm going to say, hey, you can sign up for $10,000 and spend 4 weeks and you're going to only move the needle by 1%, which is true. Well, it's not a marketing speech, it's not something that's going to convert. So that's a problem. You can't really use it. So boot camps say you're going to become one of the most, the best JavaScript developers or Rails developers, or you're going to rock it with Node.js, in a month after signing up here. So that's obviously misinformation and, lacks any facts whatsoever, but people buy it because they want to start in the industry sooner rather than later. And the worst part is some people actually do it because they sign up for a 4-month boot camp, but previously they already went to 3 other boot camps, and they also spent 6 months trying to work on themselves. And by the end of this boot camp, they have actually found a job, but this is a good consequence coming out of the past 1 year of going to boot camps and kind of learning software development. So you have to kind of keep it into account. There are other ways. You can take, Udemy videos or platforms, especially the MOOC platforms like Codecademy and Khan Academy and, all the other platforms that are teaching programming out there. But again, the problem is that for the most part, they teach you basic theory And also they give you some online coding exercises, but this is like fill in the gaps, right? Like it's like your SAT exam. If you have fill in a blank, use the right word out of 5 possible words, you're going to probably guess it. But if you're about to write an essay written by Shakespeare or someone else, or like Fitzgerald or someone else, like you're not going to be able to do it in the best possible manner because it requires practice. And those online systems, they don't have lecturers kind of sitting next to you and doing peer reviews and verifying your thinking process and so forth and so forth. And practice is obviously the best way to do that. But in order to have practice, you have to start a job. And guess what? Without experience, you can't start a job because nobody wants to hire junior developers. At least 99% of the companies don't. Why? First off, it takes 6 to 9 months or sometimes even 12 months to teach them the basics. And second, the average tenure of a software developer is anywhere between 18 to 24 months on average. So this means that a company may pay like about a year to teach a developer how to develop, and then work with them for only 6 months before they leave for another company that has been lurking around and waiting to kind of steal that programmer for them. Is it fair for the company? No. Is it fair for the junior engineer? Not really, but if they don't have the skills that are applicable for work, that's also a problem from a business perspective. So that's where we stand, essentially. It's a tricky space. So the best possible way to go for is pick one way that's kind of simple in terms of not really expensive and something that you can possibly do at home for the most part, and try to invest 4 to 6 months trying to learn by yourself. It could be a combination of book plus online YouTube videos plus some sort of a formal training program like a private academy or online. I think that Udemy has those micro nano degrees or something like that. So try to combine all of those in order to gain the skills. In the meantime, keep practicing. Pick a pet project or pick something else that you're passionate to build and you want to build a real world application. Could be, two simple applications or one very complex application, but just make sure that you apply all of the skills that you learn along the way in a real world application. So in about 6 months from now, you would be able to at least qualify for a graduate degree if you've spent pretty much 10 hours a day just hacking code all day. For some it takes longer, for some it takes less time. I've participated in software training programs that lasted on average about a year, between 9 and 18 months, but let's say on average about a year, that really produced rock star, developers in that particular industry. But of course they had they had initial intro exams trying to find still the best candidates out of the initial pool, and then that's pretty much 1 year full-time studying software development by learning the basics, then learning for the C# and Java tracks, it's kind of learning how to do software desktop applications and then how to operate with databases and how to build a desktop application connected to the database, then web development, server development and other things, and a lot of lab exercises and homework assignments and so forth in between. So that one is a bit tricky. If you have something like that that's really long and really takes at least 9 months of heavy work in your kind of city or area, this may be something to consider, because it's not a quick win to success. It's not a quick win to get a job, but it's going to help you by having people on site who are going to let you become better. And you're going to have a community of people who are struggling with the same problem, so you can pair up with some of them, team up and kind of make sure that you learn the basics. But otherwise, if you don't have that opportunity, at least try to get someone who's kind of capable to explain all of those to you. And the very initial topic was essentially, if someone's taking 2K as a developer, can he charge me 1K for teaching me half-time? No, that's also not an option. One-on-one consulting is extremely tough. I've done that multiple times. It requires some education experience, so not every developer is suitable to do that. Moreover, the process of helping you on site is only effective if people do the curriculum first. They prepare presentations, they prepare test assignments and homeworks, and they review your work and so on, which often takes 5 to 8 times longer than the actual coding session on site. So think about that as well. Try to find the best road for your education. Don't expect to become a good developer for less than 6 months, and just keep pushing.